Why he buried his guitar, until her truth exposed everything. The neon sign of Midnight Owl bled its ghostly blue light into the Portland rain. A flickering beacon for the lost and the haunted. Inside, the air clung to secrets, bourbon-soaked regrets, the hum of a broken refrigerator, and the ghost of a melody trapped in a bartender's scarred hands. Jasper Hale, sleeves rolled to reveal fading musical tattoos, moved like a shadow behind the bar, his silence louder than the guitar case gathering dust in the storeroom. But when Victoria Sterling strode in, her heels sharp as shattered glass and ambition colder than the whiskey she ordered, his fragile world began to unravel. Will Jasper drown in the echoes of his father's mistakes, or will he finally strike a chord that shatters the silence? Subscribe now to witness a story where pain becomes art, and every note could be a requiem or a rebellion. The neon sign of Midnight Owl flickered weakly in the Portland drizzle, casting a sickly blue glow over the cracked pavement. Inside, the air reeked of bourbon and stale tobacco, punctuated by the occasional clink of ice against glass. Jasper Hale wiped down the mahogany bar with a rag that had seen better days, his sleeves rolled up to reveal forearms tattooed with fading musical notes. At 27, he'd mastered the art of blending into the background, nodding at regulars, mixing drinks with mechanical precision, and never, ever speaking about the guitar case tucked behind the storeroom door. It was a Thursday night, the crowd sparse enough that Jasper could hear the hum of the refrigerator between orders. His fingers itched to play, but he'd sworn off music after midnight. That's when the ghosts come out, he thought, glancing at the clock. 11:58 p.m. The bell above the door jingled. A woman stepped in, her heels clicking like metronome beats. She wore a tailored charcoal suit that screamed money, her auburn hair swept into a knot so severe it seemed to defy gravity. The room fell silent. Jasper recognized her instantly. Victoria Sterling, the corporate raider from the news, the one who'd swallowed half of Portland's indie music scene whole. "Whiskey neat," she said, sliding onto a stool at the far end of the bar. Her voice was ice wrapped in velvet. Jasper poured the drink without a word. Out of the corner of his eye, he saw her studying him, her gaze sharp enough to flay skin. The regulars exchanged uneasy glances. Rumors had circulated for weeks that Sterling Records had its sights on Midnight Owl, though no one knew why. The place was a dump, its only charm the faint jazz melodies that seeped through the walls from the old record player and back. Victoria sipped her whiskey, her crimson lips curling into a smirk. "You're not curious why I'm here?" Jasper shrugged. "Not my business." She twirled the glass, watching the liquid catch the light. "Funny. The owner thinks you're indispensable. Says you've got soul." She spat the word like a curse. "But I don't see it." The jab hit closer than Jasper cared to admit. He turned away, pretending to organize bottles he'd already alphabetized. Behind him, Victoria's laugh was low and merciless. "Keep telling yourself that, bartender. But sooner or later, everyone plays their song." At 12:03 a.m., the first chord of House of the Rising Sun crackled through the speakers. Jasper's hands froze. That damn song. His father's anthem, the one he'd played the night he walked out on them. The memory surged unbidden. Mom crying in the kitchen, the smell of bourbon and sweat, the way Dad's fingers had trembled as he packed his saxophone. "Turn it off," Jasper muttered. Victoria's voice cut through the noise. "What's wrong?" "Don't like hearing the truth." He slammed the glass he was holding onto the counter. "I said turn it off." The room went dead silent. Victoria stood, her eyes glinting with something darker than amusement. "You're right. Let's not dwell in the past." She tossed a black business card onto the bar. Sterling Records glinted in gold foil. "But sooner or later, Hale, you'll realize silence isn't a virtue. It's a surrender." When she left, the card remained, vibrating slightly from the force of her exit. Jasper stared at it, his chest tight. The guitar in the storeroom called to him, its strings humming in the dark. But he didn't move. He couldn't. Not yet. The rain had stopped by dawn, leaving Portland's streets glistening like shattered glass. Jasper sat on the fire escape of his apartment, a cigarette dangling between his fingers. The guitar case lay open beside him, its contents undisturbed for months. He hadn't played since the night Victoria Sterling invaded Midnight Owl, hadn't dared to touch the strings that might unravel the fragile lie he called a life. But sleep had been impossible. Her words looped in his head. Silence isn't a virtue. It's a surrender. He stepped out the cigarette and reached for the guitar, his fingers hovering. The instrument was a relic, a Yamaha FG73 from the 70s, bought for $50 at a pawnshop. Its body bore scratches from 1,000 drunken nights, its neck warped by humidity. To anyone else it was junk. To Jasper, it was a coffin for his father's ghost. New Orleans, 2005. The air smells of magnolias and regret. 10-year-old Jasper crouches in the hallway, clutching his mother's apron. Through the crack of the living room door, he watches his father play saxophone. The man's shadow sways like a pendulum, fingers dancing over brass keys. House of the Rising Sun spills from the horn raw and aching. Mom's hands tremble as she scrubs pans at the sink. She hums along, tears cutting through her mascara. Why does he play that song? Jasper whispers. Because he's sorry, she says, scrubbing harder. And because he's a coward. The next morning the saxophone is gone. So is Dad. Jasper strummed a dissonant chord. The memory still stung. A paradox of love and abandonment. Music as both apology and betrayal. He'd sworn never to be like his father, to let art become a crutch for weakness. Yet here he was hiding in Portland writing songs he'd never share. The sound of heels on metal startled him. Victoria leaned against the fire escape railing, her suit impeccable despite the early hour. Still playing it safe, Hale? How did you find me? Your apron has the bar's address stitched inside. She smirked. Clever, but not clever enough. Jasper closed the guitar case with a snap. What do you want? The truth. She stepped closer, her perfume sharp as a knife. You hate music because it reminds you of him. But you need it because it reminds you of her. The way she cried when he played. The way she kept his records even after he left. He flinched. No one knew about the box of vinyl in his closet, Mom's shrine to a ghost. Sterling Records isn't here to exploit you, Victoria said softly. We're here to bury the lies. You think silence protects you? It just makes you another coward with a guitar. Jasper stood, fists clenched. You don't know me. Don't I? She pulled a flash drive from her pocket. This is your demo. Recorded last Tuesday. You were humming a melody while cleaning tables. I bribed the sound guy. His blood ran cold. Delete it. Why? Because it's honest. She tossed the drive onto the guitar case. You're not afraid of music, Jasper. You're afraid it'll prove you're just like him. The words hung in the air, heavier than the humidity of his childhood. Victoria turned to leave, pausing at the stairs. When you're ready to stop running, call me. But don't wait too long. Even cowards run out of road. When she was gone, Jasper opened the case again. The flash drive glinted beside the guitar. He plugged it into his laptop, fingers trembling. The melody was fragile, unfinished, a lullaby for ghosts. That night at Midnight Owl, the regulars noticed the change. Jasper mixed drinks with a feverish intensity, his eyes distant. The record player spun House of the Rising Sun on loop. At 11:59 p.m., he grabbed the guitar from the storeroom. Victoria was right. He'd been running all his life. But not anymore. Portland, 1 week after the performance. Jasper sat in the Midnight Owl's storeroom, tracing a crack on his guitar. Since that night, the bar had been packed, patrons buzzing like vultures, eager to hear the music of self-destruction, as they called it. But Jasper didn't sing anymore. He just poured drinks, avoiding the whispers. That's him. The guy who screamed his pain into the mic. Victoria arrived when he least expected. 9 a.m. Sunday, the bar closed. She wore a simple black sweater, red hair loose. Gone was the corporate armor. She looked like a ghost from his past. You got the contract? She placed a thick envelope on the counter. Burned it. Jasper polished a glass, feigning focus. Did you? Victoria smiled faintly. Then why'd I choose House of the Rising Sun to provoke you? Jasper froze. Because, her voice dropped, it was my mother's favorite. She played piano in New Orleans before my jazz drummer father abandoned us. She died when I was 16, still clutching his concert ticket in her wallet. Jasper turned, meeting her gaze for the first time. I'm not here to ruin you, Victoria said. I'm here to stop you from ruining yourself. Your music. It's not the soulless act you hide behind. It's a confession. And I want to help you share it. She slid the envelope toward him. Inside was an old photo. 12-year-old Victoria at a piano, a rare smile. Scribbled on the back. For Victoria, the daughter of honesty. Mom. Why show me this? Jasper's voice roughened. Because, she looked away. You're not the only one scarred by music. But unlike you, I turn my pain into a weapon. You? You're hiding in a shell of safety. Before he could reply, she was gone. The envelope left a damp mark, maybe tears. That night, Jasper opened the demo. For the first time, he listened fully. His voice rasped. I'm not the victim. I'm the time bomb of lies. The next morning, he called Victoria. I'll record, Jasper said. Not because you want to, she replied. Because you're afraid. Right. He stayed silent. Good, she said coldly. Fear is where honesty begins. Portland 1 month later. The Midnight Owl had become a spectacle. Patrons no longer came for the bourbon. They came to gawk at Jasper, the bartender who screamed through his guitar. His tips doubled, but the applause felt like sandpaper. Every night someone asked, "When's the next show?" Every night he shook his head. Victoria's business card still haunted his apartment, tucked inside the guitar case. He'd burned the contract, but the demo she'd left online, House of Hale, gnawed at him. It had gone viral, a shadowy upload with no credits. Strangers messaged him. Is this you? It's brutal. The bar's back alley. Jasper leaned against the dumpster, cigarette glowing in the dark. The alley reeked of stale beer and rain. A figure emerged, Victoria, her silhouette sharp under the streetlight. You uploaded it, he said. I didn't, she replied. But someone wanted you to hear it. Why? Because you needed proof. That music isn't about talent. It's about truth. Even if it's ugly. She tossed him a lighter. Your mother kept your father's records, didn't she? Not because she forgave him. Because they were honest. Jasper exhaled smoke. What do you want? Nothing. You've already started writing again. She nodded at his pocket, the crumpled napkin where he'd scribbled lyrics during shifts. The album offer still stands. But remember, honesty isn't redemption. It's a reckoning. She walked away, her heels echoing like a fading metronome. The next morning, Jasper opened the guitar case. Beneath the flash drive lay a new sheet of paper, Victoria's handwriting. Track 2. Coward's Waltz. He crumpled it, then slowly smoothed it out. The first chords came hesitant, then furious. Lyrics spilled out. I ran from the stage, ran from the crowd, ran from the truth, I shouted loud. The Midnight Owl's regulars drifted in. None asked for a show. They just listened, their silence heavier than applause. Portland 3 weeks later. The Midnight Owl had returned to its usual rhythm. Clinking glasses, murmured conversations, the hum of the fridge. But Jasper wasn't the same. He scribbled lyrics on napkins during shifts, his guitar case always slightly ajar. The demo House of Hale lingered online, its origin a mystery. Fans speculated. Jasper stayed silent. Victoria hadn't contacted him since he'd rejected the contract. But tonight she returned. The bar's rooftop. Jasper found her leaning against the rooftop railing, the Portland skyline glittering behind her. You uploaded it, he said. I didn't. She didn't turn. But someone wanted the world to hear your rage. Why do you care? Because you're still lying. She faced him, her eyes glinting. You think rejecting me makes you brave? It just means you're scared to own your truth. Jasper gripped the guitar strap. What truth? That you're not running from music, you're running to it. Every song you write is a confession. Every silence is a scream. He opened his mouth to argue, but she cut him off. The album offer's gone, she said. Sterling Records doesn't beg. But someone left this in my office. She handed him a cassette tape labeled House of Hale Track 2. Inside was a new song, raw, trembling. I wrote this for the ghosts I buried, but they keep singing back. The next morning, Jasper sat at the bar, the cassette player spinning. The track ended. A patron asked, You gonna record more? He hesitated, then nodded. Epilogue. 6 months later. The Midnight Owl hosted an open mic night. Jasper played last, his guitar scarred but steady. The crowd wasn't there for bourbon. They were there for the man who'd turned pain into art. Victoria watched from the back, a rare smile flickering. When he finished, she left without a word. On stage, Jasper held up the cassette. "This isn't redemption," he said. "It's just honesty." The room erupted. But Jasper barely heard. His fingers itched to write the next song. As Jasper's guitar screams into the Portland night, a single question lingers. Is this the anthem of his redemption? Or the prelude to his downfall? Stay tuned, the next track is about to rewrite everything. Don't miss the crescendo.